squad, so should be a lot of fun. But enough mincing of words, folks. Clubhouse is ready as we start it for DarkZero and Soniqs.
Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen, and see if the Soniqs can close down our NAL finals for 2021 here and claim themselves as the champion after arguably one of the most controversial starts for a team this year with a rebuild of the entire roster, save for Super. They are just a few rounds away now from being the overall champions of this entire division. First ban up, though, is going to be Thatcher, as we align pretty well with the meta for our first two bans. Hibana also going to follow that up as the Soniqs make their first choice, with the second coming up in just a second as our first defender ban.
All right, well, we'll see what they want to do to the defensive side, but the offensive side, we're all used to this, so it'll be Hibana affecting a lot of those hatches as well as some of those hard-to-reach places, so we'll see Ace more than likely come in for that if they do want to break up anything along those lines. Valkyrie's going to get removed initially for the defense, just that info game being so unbelievably potent, and Mira going to follow suit as well. So two of the operators that we saw quite a bit on Banker will both be removed, but that's going to open up a lot of different avenues. The big one right now, standing tall, has got to be Kaid. Thatcher, being obviously out of play, makes Kaid so very strong when he makes it through the ban pool, so more than likely a big abusing moment here for DZ.
That brought in more than likely for sure, but keep in mind Maverick also going to be available for our attackers to circumnavigate quite a bit of what Kaid will usually bring to the table, especially when it comes to play. Specifically on those balcony walls, hatches might be a little bit better to work out here for him, and we're going to see that come into play for NJR immediately, as to no surprise, we're going to see DarkZero immediately go towards a basement hold for the first round here.
Ooh, very interesting from Eclipse as well, so he'll take the alibi away and just into the Smoke instead. And as we all know, Smoke's such a very solid operator in any defensive setup. One of the most played ops of all time on the defensive side. Same with Jaeger, who will also be showing up to the table here for Hyper. Canadian will be back on the Echo that we saw him previously use on Bank, but obviously this one's going to be downstairs here, Church Arsenal. So he'll be more than likely be playing safe and trying to get either some intel or just plant denial. We'll have to exactly see what he wants to go along with this. But as for the Soniqs, this is actually going to be a fairly straightforward offense for them with 3 hard breachers being in play. It's going to be about working these hatches, and not only that, but also working the kitchen hallway with Kansan. We're going to be seeing a lot of value out of that skeleton key here on this site.
Round begins, and the Soniqs will spawn for the first time here. They're going to go on the attack here and look to clear this out. Will be fairly heavily focused for DarkZero, as you've already mentioned. They're in the basement hold here, with all 5 players continuing to maintain that position and playing it out here for the large majority of the round. Some slight exceptions that will be found with Panba lurking up the main stairs, looking to maybe get an early contestation against someone like Kansan entering through kitchen or that main hall. Could possibly see something similar with Hyper over towards the blue hall as well if he wants to get adventurous, but it's looking like for the most part he's going to keep things nice and reserved, held back further down that staircase and in the actual container unit down below in the big blue square.
Soniqs already clearing out the mid floor of Clubhouse. The Yana hologram making its way down main stairs. That'll be droning Rexon as well, but Rexon won't be pushing too far. We'll just be setting up the drone for secret to make sure no DZ members make it on out, and then it'll be on to the hatch play here for these lads. I want to make sure they can get all of these open. They'll have to try and circumnavigate these electro claws, but it's going to be very easy given that they have Yeti. The only complicated one, more than likely going to be the one inside of kitchen, but doesn't even look like that's been electrified. We'll have to see later if NJR still has his primary utility in his pocket or if he's got that lined up somewhere else. We'll just have to see. But this has been fairly straightforward for the Soniqs. It's exactly how you're expecting Clubhouse to go. They pressured everyone down low. DZ simply waiting with open arms to see what the next move will be as they continue to try and build up their utility and stand in the way of Soniqs actually making their way into sight.
1 minute already gone from the round, and in fact half of the round already gone here for the Soniqs as they try to spend most of the opening minute and a half here opening up all those top-down angles, specifically inside of kitchen and a few other areas on the map as well, so that they can explore every possibility and knock out, more importantly, every piece of utility they possibly can before adventuring forward here. You can see most notably, again, those Kaid claws being dealt with quite easily and now allowing for the hatch to be opened up inside of kitchen to let them go for the drop that they most certainly would want to go for here. The Otaclone, the Gemini, going to be the first to actually go down to see what the Arsenal setup is actually looking like as Panba gets spotted out there behind the first gun vault and then goes up to the containers instead as a Toxic Babe is deployed to stop any sort of follow-up from coming in from the Soniqs.
And you can already see what is getting done with the skeleton key from Kansan. Look at the amount of work that they've done inside of this kitchen hallway. This is all going to lean into Armory and make things so very difficult to play deeper inside of this space. Pambazu with a very interesting spot, but Rexon will be able to get one. Hyper trades it out, but now Armory's good to go for Soniqs. More than likely should be nailing themselves into this momentarily, but they have to worry about two separate spots. Not only Dummies box for Hyper, but also Canadian inside of Dirt. That's always one that you want to be aware of when it comes to this positioning. Grish will be able to clean up Eclipse with that frag grenade, and we could see some more raining in soon as Yeti gets into position. Super already going to start off the plant. They know that one's crossing. That comm should come through pretty cleanly as Grixer will start combating back. Won't be able to get the plant down, but they've gotten the two people that stood in their way initially. It's all up to NJR. Got the Sonic skin, but definitely not supporting them as they're trying to rip this away, but he can't hit his shots. NJR's going to want that one back as Sonics more than likely take the round.
NJR with an opportunity to shut it down, but just barely missing it by the skin of his own teeth here. Now NJR trying to make the play happen in the 1vx, but it's just not going to go his way. The frags instead go towards the Sonics, and with a great audible moving away from the kitchen hatch drop that they've been focusing on for so long in that round, and instead shifting it over towards a Moto and main stairs play. They get the routes they need to work their way in and ultimately burn out the DarkZero defense to pick up the first round on the attack.
Sonics just keep the playbook so open there, John. That was the beauty of that. They started playing the pressure through the utility as well as that plant going down with Super initially, but the rest of the bodies for the Sonics are still upstairs in positions of power. That's the biggest thing there, right? So they can drop into blue, they can abuse the secret stairwell, and really all they needed initially was that pull away from Armory in order to get the ball rolling. And that's exactly what Rexon's plan was initially inside of that one, and that makes it to where all of DarkZero has to try and crunch and deal with that situation that Super presents. But in that, they also give up map control on the back end of the site, which opens it up for the Sonics. They walk in with open arms, clean up literally everyone in through secret where they initially died, and they get away with it. So beautifully done there from the Sonics to know how DarkZero are going to react to that situation and just think one step ahead.
And again, the patience that comes out of that is very impressive from the Sonics, with all the discipline that Super is bringing to the rest of his team and has built up over this last 9 months or so of play. Is really something to be respected here. I forget if it was Rex or Kansas that was pushing in from blue towards the end of the round, but that player had a clear-cut duel versus Canadian. Never pushed it though, never overextended.
It was Grixer, I believe, because he got the 2K.
What's up?
I think it was Grixer because he got the 2K.
Okay, Grixer. So yeah, either way, had that nice pinch going on there and didn't overplay at any point, didn't try to force the duel, which could have potentially led to his own death, because if he goes down, that allows Canadian to run out, and they're going to lose a huge amount of map control at that point. So they choose to play the safe route, despite the time being low, and ultimately it leads to a very, very clean hold for the Sonics and a pretty much unwinnable situation for that last player alive with DarkZero.
Yeah, Sonics, very calculated in the way that they do things, very strategic as well as just following through. Time and time again, the entire squad. I mean, we've seen their Clubhouse a decent bit this year, and we've seen it twice in the last 2 days as well, and almost every single time things go off without a hitch. They're using their utility perfectly. There's a lot of synergy. I mean, it's just beautiful Siege to watch. For DarkZero right now, the initial basement won't work, but we've seen them clamber out of this before. Well, just a couple moments ago on Bank when this started out as a 3-0 deficit to the Sonics offense.
The Sonics now well ahead here with the 1-0 lead built up here. An opportunity to try and push it to 2-0 as well. But the DarkZero roster obviously favoring a different site choice for themselves this time. They will go upstairs instead to hold inside of CCTV and Cash. Where we can already see the Sonics quickly trying to work things out and open up this balcony wall for themselves here. No issues in terms of doing that. They've got the Maverick after all. And we already talked about how those Electroclaws wouldn't be much against the Maverick here. So it's opened up very quickly. Option number 1 is there for the Sonics to execute into the site. But they need to build up to 2 to 3 others here before they'll more than likely have the confidence necessary to go for an outright execute. Yeti, in the meanwhile, though, while having his job done, will be free to drone out the inside of the site and see what the setup back toward the top of the red stairs as well as our green room there. Cash itself is going to look like to hopefully give some greater intel and clarity to the players pushing into construction. It won't be enough, though, as Canadian gets a beautiful flick off onto Grixer to shut him down and give DarkZero the opening kill of the round.
I mean, Canadian might have actually entered retirement and just recently came out, but he is still hitting this shots to this day, rather. All the way back in year 1, still playing the game. We're all the way in year 6, about to close it out, actually. We are sitting in December as of right now. But 50 seconds on the clock, and Sonic still with a lot to do. They'll be able to get the right-hand wall open here as they're looking for a better plant spot, but they really haven't given up, or rather cleared out DarkZero's positioning, especially here inside of Garage, where Eclipse can play spoils to a lot of this situation. Sonics, though, still with plenty of time to be able to achieve a lot of this, and with some serious damage done to Canadian, this really is anybody's route.
JR continuing to wait for the next challenge to potentially come his way, either through the construction window or the breach that has been made inside the balcony wall itself. Either way, Soniqs are out of time with 15 seconds remaining. They need to push the envelope here, whether it's in garage or in through the breach. Eclipse is watching both angles, though, and so is Panba, as he gets the triple at the end of it. Not even close this time for the Soniqs, as DarkZero pick up a truly flawless round and shut down every facet of the Soniqs push.
Praising Soniqs all day for their info game, but it just seemed like they had to operate with 0 inside of that situation. No idea that Eclipse is inside of rafters, and really no idea as to the positioning of where DZ is inside of the true site. So trying to just work their way in through the CCTV breach, but obviously that does not work out as they all get gunned down for the flawless round, the very first round that DarkZero will achieve here on Clubhouse. Into round 3 now, though, as we're quickly getting into the next one. It's going to be a 6 picks from Grixer. The Ying going to go out of play, Yana coming back in, so more frag grenades to the party to partner up with Mavericks, as we will still stick to that triple hard breach that the Soniqs have been running for most of their Clubhouse rounds in the last 2 days.
Gym and bedroom is up on the docket next year for DZ as they continue to wrap around, not feeling the repeat on that basement hold just yet, as Soniqs, to be fair, had a fairly solid attacking strategy as well as an audible called mid-round there, as they really seem ready to take on any challenge on that site. DarkZero won't be willing to go back to that until they are truly going to be forced to, probably on the next round, if things come out well for them here on the gym hold. With that said, this is going to be a much different defense overall here, as it's once again, just like our other upstairs site, fairly claustrophobic, everybody having to hold in some fairly small rooms and with not a whole lot of cover to play off of. So the best way to make up for that difference is to extend outwards, and that's exactly what DZ are going to do, extending additional coverage over here inside of Couch as well as construction to allow for them to waste additional time earlier on in the round before being forced to fall back to the site.
And in a perfect world, they'll more than likely be able to work their way back towards that construction space and get a couple of picks in the process, or at least waste a decent amount of the Soniqs' time if they do want to come over here and try and tussle with the cache setup. Now, there is one caveat to that, which is what Oxygen did yesterday, which was really thin the herd of the Soniqs. They actually got forced into more of a pinching scenario on this top floor where everyone got really congested around that construction space, and Oxygen was able to capitalize on that with quite a few frags and simply just walk over the Soniqs on a defensive round like this. So we'll see what SQ want to do in this situation, as Kansan will start things off over here on the construction side, or rather the plat side, but Pambazoo here to try and at least get in his way. Kansan will immediately drop off as he's created some space for the hologram to go in, and Pambazoo seemingly aware of that, so he'll be able to at least get rid of it, but that's going to be a decent amount of intel going to the Soniqs.
And the Gemini spotting one, if not both, of the players holding out here by Red and Cash, so a lot of info, as you were mentioning, being bled over towards the Soniqs. For the most part, looking like they're going to ignore that setup for the time being and prioritize the play in from Jim instead. With a little over half the round remaining, they'll have plenty of time to set up towards that. Additional pressure will be boiling in through the Haji hatch more than likely as well to add an additional pinch to this play, as Canadian and at least one other member of DarkZero are going to sit here to try and defend this. Canadian even getting a little bit aggressive with the swings here. He knows he's going to drone up top in that corner. I think he's heard it move once or twice, but he can't find the angle to shoot it. And there you go. Correct myself, as finally it over peaks and he can shoot now.
Well, it's just as you said, you know, you don't need to try and mess with the cache setup if you're able to get control of logistics. You have the complete cutoff inside of construction, and they're going to have to try and either go down the stairs or just straight up gunfight you, and either way, it's a risk for the defense. Canadian, speaking of risks, he's taken a pretty serious one and looking to see if anybody will be out here on this vent. It's a very common spot for people to be holding that angle. That way you can see in towards that red space right next to logistics, but nobody home for that nitro cell, so that one will go wide as we're down to our last minute.
I think it's soar a little bit further, actually might have yielded results against Yeti, currently holding the corner a little bit further outside there as time continues to trickle down here, and the Soniqs running out of it, running out of options to get themselves into the site, and even to get their first kill going. Much like the last upstairs hold here, Soniqs just can't find any sort of advantage here, any sort of initiation right to get into this site with, and ultimately, Grixer's going to try to peek the Logi hatch against two very well-prepared members of DarkZero, and Canadian will shut that down. Loses a lot of HP in the process, but you're seeing no counteraction coming in from Soniqs to make up for this. They're going to swing in through main stairs. Super and Yeti going to try to pinch this angle together, and actually no, Super's going to swing out towards the gym instead. NJR very much prepared for that, up on top of the bed stop now. With 18 seconds remaining here, the remaining players are going to try to put pressure in wherever they really can, but much like the last round, it's unfortunately not going to lead to a whole lot, and more than likely this is just going to be a shutdown from DarkZero again.
Been very well done here. It's going to be yet another flawless back-to-back rounds. The Soniqs can't even be gifted a kill. No one making an aggressive play on DZ that ends up with a Soniqs frag. And, well, could be seeing a timeout soon, but it doesn't seem like they want to use it just yet. It's only a one-round deficit and some adjustments that Super can more than likely make himself. We could be seeing one come in here, but it doesn't really look like we're going to be getting too much. Yeti initially flashed a gridlock. You guys didn't see that on your screen, but could definitely, more than likely, actually, keeping that Maverick simply just given the circumstances of what our bans were. If he ends up 6-picking that, I would definitely be surprised. It's actually going to be Grixer instead. Starts off with the Jackal, moves it back to the Yana, as we're going to be getting the exact same lineup as we've been getting time and time again, just constantly trying to abuse that 6-pick as much as possible.
Oh, with Soniqs being somewhat of a non-starter in the two upstairs sites, they're going to be certainly relieved that we are going back to the basement here now, mainly because DarkZero don't have a choice. You guys that are watching from other regions might be a little bit surprised. It's like, okay, why don't they try the bar hold? Well, in North America, it really is not in the meta still. So, yeah, it's not going to be something that we'll see played into very often. I think in the NAL overall, it's been picked like maybe 2 to 3 times this whole year.
Twice for
yeah,
this whole year.
And that's actually quite a bit compared to what it used to be. So even that's an improvement. But yeah, for the most part, NA just does not play into the bar site, so they're always going to rely on the other 3.
Please don't troll my ranked games with that site. I'm asking, please, please. You know, it's just a site that's very difficult to get to go with your squad. But obviously, when there's very solid coordination, like there should be in competitive Rainbow Six Siege, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you and your team to be able to achieve victory inside of that space. But either way, round 4 starts now. So we're about 10 seconds in already. Major changes on either side. This time around, though, and we'll say Canadian will be bringing the Goyo instead of the Echo. And honestly, I really, really like this, just given not only the 2 solid defensive standpoints that Canadian can make with those Goyo shields, but the Vector in general just rips. And having a Nitro Cell on this site as well is just always a gift. There's a lot of different things you can get done with it, not only denying the plant, but also just battling back against that verticality that Kansan will be ensuing in a moment's notice.
The Selmas get deployed onto the hatch going down towards blue, putting that additional pressure onto, of course, Hyper and eventually Canadian Pamba as well, should we continue to see Soniqs emphasize pressure in from this part of the map. Not going to be the only step that Soniqs need to work on, though. Still need to get access to the kitchen hatch and a heck of a lot more. And Kansan will be contributing quite a bit to making sure that that happens. As you can see, already using that skeleton key to open up quite a few of the angles here down the main hallway, and will soon be doing the same on the inside of that kitchen floor as he'll go towards NAL. Yeti similarly will work on opening up the Moto hatch. It's just checking the boxes at this point here, folks, as we kind of wait down the timer for the Soniqs to be more ready to assault the basement. DarkZero are not bringing out any aggression from the staircases here, so it's going to be a little monotonous here as they build up towards that in the next 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Yeti and Kansan are the only 2 Soniqs members that went to trade school, because we got a carpenter and a welder here. But we're going to have to keep track, John, see what they can do. You know, Kansan might be making my new furniture. You never know. But either way, DarkZero will be waiting downstairs yet again, just like we saw in the previous defensive round down low. And Pambazoo going to be playing in a very similar position as well. DarkZero more than likely very aware of what will be going around the blue area, but it's actually Canadian to die first, and that's those angles around this space. It's a beauty of what the skeleton key can achieve. This isn't something that you can get done in a regular fashion without range soft breach. So with that being said, it's going to be an angle found over the reinforced wall. You guys can see it right there as they tried to reinforce that and give him some extra room to breathe around that main space. That way, like Yeti and people like that can't try and make their way up that long hallway, but it's all for naught. So now Canadian down, Pambazoo basically the last man standing here inside of the Armory Lockers space, but that doesn't mean that DZ can't battle back through other angles.
An opening kill being found, and that's what the static buildup for the Soniqs is all about here, trying to isolate out those 1 or 2 players to make the rest of the execute more palatable. They haven't been able to translate additional ones as of yet, though, and once more, nice catch by Yeti here. Saves his teammate's life, but there's still a swing from Pamba out from his position to pick up the kill anyway. Yeti now sneaks into the site, nearly catches one. He's going to dart past this Toxic Babe to get to the safe corner, but he's quickly losing teammates, so he has to defend himself fairly soon. Kansan trying to do that job for him here, and Grixer looking to do the same from up on top. He'll swing forward, but the plant is now down on the ground as NGR and Eclipse both pick up kills. Grixer is the only one remaining upstairs, and while he gets 1 exchange, he has a lot more to find. His 2 additional players still need to be hunted from downstairs. He'll try to take the path of least defense here, looking again for a rotate to come back up through the stairs itself. He's right to look for that, but he also needs to deny the counter defuse. Finds that angle. He knows he's got a player on top of him. Just needs to wait this one out. He doesn't even really need to take the fight anymore, but he's going to go for it anyway. Grixer out of ammo. He's got the RX after all here, but he's dodging around this Kane, and he eventually takes the fight as Grixer clutches it out for the Soniqs.
Grixer, very well done. Such a difficult situation to try and work through, constantly being pressured from both ends, but seemingly not a chance in the world for DarkZero to try and get away with that one. Everyone on the Soniqs dying to get that case down, all for Grixer to have a moment to pop off, and he does indeed, able to pick up quite a few frags through that hatch and battle back against DZ after 2 flawless rounds.
Oh, beautiful stuff coming in from him, but again, here's the issue for the Soniqs. This is the only area where they've had success so far,
Indeed.
and more importantly, the only site where they've had success. We need to see them translate this into the 2 upstairs sites as well, and if they can't do that, we're looking at a very easy 4-2 lead coming up over the next 2 rounds for DarkZero. So these are the rounds we care about here. These are the ones where we need to see evolution come out in Sonic's attacking playstyle. Otherwise, it's just going to be DarkZero shutting them down again.
Yeah, it's the prominence in the angles for the Soniqs on that downstairs site and the way that they're abusing cans in there. I mean, they're just getting so many angles open to where you really don't have any space to operate down low without getting tagged up or just outright killed. I mean, that's what's happened to Canadian time and time again. The previous round was just a nice pull there from the Soniqs as they pull all of DarkZero towards, you know, the Armory Locker's space. That time around, it was just very solid angles being worked around Kitchen, as well as Yeti kind of making a free ball play down the main stairs. They had to get somebody in somehow, and he pushes in through the ash wall after Super just simply tries to entry in and get some info for him, and it works out really, really well. Unfortunate for Yeti that he doesn't get the kill onto Canadian, or rather the player inside of Dirk, but either way, still able to get that round on the SQ table, and that's what matters at the end of the day. But that leads over into these other rounds as well, where we're going to want to see Soniqs be a little bit more abusive in the way that they use their utility.
As we get started with our 5th round of the half here, and the 2nd run of the upstairs holds from DZ. Things are going to go pretty predictably here once again for the first minute or so of action as Yeti goes immediately to take care of the balcony. While he's got the Maverick, you'll notice, of course, the defender's not going to be wasting either of the electric claws on it this time because it's a bit of a moot point, ultimately, with Maverick in play. Yeti will be able to carve his way through those at some point over the next 10 seconds or so, and then we'll be free to move on as the rest of the team opens up other options, whether it's through hatch play or potentially opening up the other balcony over by Jacuzzi to allow a push to come in through construction. That's another area where Soniqs did try to take on the last attempt here, but were ultimately fended off due to the nice swing from Canadian, and I believe caught Grixer and kind of made the Soniqs not too confident to try pushing that area again at any point during that round.
I've seen quite a few of these rounds on this top floor for the Soniqs open up with this, and then usually either, as you said, going towards Jacuzzi or popping that single panel for construction just to apply pressure to the back end there and make things a little bit more difficult for DZ to really get done what they're attempting to. Speaking of which, Canadian will be back in the position that we saw him the last time here for construction, more than likely shield in tow as well. So Soniqs know about this space and what exactly can go on here. Also, that Malusi more than likely going to be a little bit of a nuisance overall, just with those Banshees laying around and making it difficult for the Soniqs to actually get their entry in the way that they would originally want to. We're about halfway through the round right now as the Soniqs haven't gotten too much done yet again here. More than likely going to be focused onto this garage position as Eclipse stood very tall outside of the previous round here on CCTV.
And Eclipse, once again, ready for the challenge to come in here as the Soniqs, similarly to the previous attempts, have gone the first 2 minutes without much contest against them. You can even see Canadian starting to flirt with a potential peek out through that window, potentially catch anyone from the Soniqs that might be trying to peek in through CCTV itself. 50 seconds now remaining on the clock, and it's that similar static positioning from the Soniqs here as they still try to work their way forward and get some positioning onto the site. It's important to know, I don't actually know if the balcony was fully opened up yet either, but either way, first kill finally going to be found here as Panba moves in, catches Yeti outright. The Twitch drone trying to fire in and take care of some of this utility, and finally, there we go. Now an opening going to be made of the balcony with just 30 seconds remaining here, and the Soniqs now have to use that time to try to push themselves forward. May not even really be able to work themselves forward and get access to the balcony breach at any point here, because there's still one Toxic Bait remaining. A nice insertion from Rexon, though, and an absolute ace kill against Eclipse. Some good damage going on to Canadian, but not able to transition it forward at that point and to fully outright kill him. Grixer finds similar success, though, moving up the red stairs, and this may work out after all, after everything is said and done for the Soniqs roster here. Canadian trying to flank around towards Grixer, but he won't be caught, and Super even gets another one, able to put the case down on the ground, and Grixer has his cutoff. However, Canadian looking in from down below, they're going to try to deny onto him, but it won't work out. Grixer, the hero again, as he pushes down the red stairs and stops the counter defuse.
Oh, that was terrifying from both ends right there. So DarkZero, or rather Soniqs, do end up getting that wall open initially with the Mouthbutt combo, but then they blow that second wall because of the plant positioning that Super wanted. He wanted to plant right up next to that wall. There's actually just enough room there on the bricks to where the person that plays inside of the cache stairwell actually can't see you, especially when it's smoked off. It makes it super difficult because, as we all know, if you challenge smokes, the person on the other side of the smoke more than likely has the advantage when you walk through, so no one going to challenge that outright. But it took a lot more than that in order to make that round go off for the Soniqs. It was Grixer all day, every day that made that round go off. Not only does he pressure the cache stairs to get the frag there and make it to where Super even has the chance to do that, but he also gets the 2 kills that prevent Super from dying at 0-0 and would have gifted DarkZero the round.
Grixer, the hero of the red stairs there, pushes the Soniqs ahead, guarantees...
Superman right under his chest, just rip the jersey off.
Quite literally a hero in that situation, as he guarantees a tied scoreline at halftime minimum, if not a 4-2 lead here as they go forward, in addition to an absolutely brutal scoreline here at this point of 9-2. They triple the next highest teammate right now, who's Rexen at 3-4.
Round 6 hasn't even started yet, John. That's 5 rounds that he's done that in. 9-2-0. Very, very impressive stuff. And honestly, it makes me really happy for what we've seen over these last 2 days with Twitch starting to get used a lot more once again. Back in the day, we all know this, she got crutched a decent bit for the F2 just because of the high fire rate of the gun and kind of the recoil pattern at that moment. But now I feel like she's in such a solid space. She's got the smoke secondaries as well as the F2 for the primary, and her Twitch drones are just perfect in the moment. So it's been pretty sick to be able to see her get some use and just some play again inside a professional Siege. So Grixer obviously is pretty happy with that, and I'm sure a lot of entry fraggers and people across the globe are excited to have that F2 back in their hands.
So the Soniqs leading once again here. They're going to look to do the same, and they succeed in it. Oh my God. Panba's going to get caught by Kansan as he goes hyper-aggressive at the beginning of this round, breaching right in through the balcony wall and catching Panba when he has no idea the pressure was even there. A free start given to the Soniqs here as they are already leading this round in a 5v4 position.
Soniqs fighting so valiantly for this 4-2 split. We saw it yesterday up against Oxygen where they were able to do very similar things on this map, able to achieve that scoreline. Well, now for them, they'll be working this side yet again here as we are going back to Gym Bedroom for DZ, but none of those rounds had started in this way. It was always Soniqs trying to get something done on the tail end of the round where DZ were just ready for it, just really never processing through any of the utility or the setup for DarkZero and just trying to get it done with very minimal control that never truthfully worked out. But now for DarkZero, presented an opportunity and an oversight from Hyper. He's looking downstairs but doesn't know where anyone's coming from at the moment, and Yeti chooses a prime opportunity to get that swing.
Eclipse is going to look to counter this back out, but Eclipse biting off a little bit more than he can chew as Rexen comes in for the assist. It's not even the player that he was looking at. Yeti even catches the flank. Canadian, however, will succeed in getting a bit aggressive on his own, but he too now flanked out by Grixer. It's a 4-2 lead for the Soniqs as they rebound beautifully on the second run of upstairs hold, winning both of them and solidifying a beautiful attacking half for themselves.
The one thing that I have noticed so much about the Soniqs play across these last 2 days is how they always have that ace up their sleeve. There's always someone waiting for something to happen to the opposing squad, and then they make their action. They hop into logistics. They push in the back end while DarkZero is trying to pressure out into their actual defensive site. There's so many things here that the Soniqs are doing that are just very little, but it's the things that are required to beat a team like DarkZero. This has been so very well done thus far, as we'll be switching sides. DarkZero will be faced with not only a 2-score lead by the Soniqs, this quite the deficit, but also the offensive side of Clubhouse, which can be for better or for worse.
Just the first bit of this half needing to be won now by the Soniqs. 3 rounds out of 6 remaining separates them from being the NAL 2021 outright champions. Once again, no one expected this to happen given the way this year started out for them, but they are absolutely giving us a show right now, especially Grix already in double-digit kills with just 6 rounds having been played out.
If we would have talked in February and I would have told any of you at home, hey, what the finals for the NAL this year is going to be, I have the script in my hand, you know. It's going to be Canadian with DarkZero up against Soniqs
after retiring
with Super. And not only that, but Super is actually going to make mincemeat out of Oxygen, out of all people. That's what's going to happen inside of our finals. You guys would all call me crazy, be like, Stokes doesn't deserve a job, get somebody else in here. But no, that's what we've got. We've got DarkZero and the Soniqs in the finals of the NAL. And not only that, but the Soniqs looking very convincing in the way that they've been handling their siege.
With just a few more rounds left to win, it's time to see if they can do it on the defensive side. Once again, that aggression could come out in different forms here as well. We can already see Super lurking over towards the dirt tunnel there. Unsure if that was to try and check for their potential aggressive play, or once again, just checking for potential enemy info himself. But either way, it's going to be very close to the chest here for the Soniqs, which is similar to the way we saw DarkZero playing it out. Pretty much everybody sticking themselves down here to wait out the time, wait out the clear from DarkZero, and allow them to work their way and allow, obviously, the Sonic setup do most of the talking when it comes time to fight later on in this round.
Well, a couple of similarities, but also a couple of differences for DZ's lineup in comparison to what Soniqs were bringing for the offense. We have Buck in play. I don't know how that skeleton key will work out for the kitchen hall, but also Canadian bringing the Rotero drones to try and deal with some of these hard-to-reach spaces, and getting rid of a lot of important utility. Most notably, what he's looking for is those evil eyes. If you can get rid of those, that's most of the info off the board, especially deep inside of Armory, and should make it very straightforward for DZ trying to work that space. All you have to do past that is worry about those boxes or towards the back end of Armory, as well as Dirt Tunnel. Those are the two key moments that can change up a lot going for one of those Armory plants. Obviously, there's a couple of other spaces that can be abused, but we're so used to the offense here, especially nowadays, properly operating around that moto space, holding the bottom stairs or what have you, just to make it towards a pretty hard rotation for the defense. But DarkZero starting to get dwindled on this timer now, as we're almost to the minute.
Zero here, once again, struggling to work their way in, but certainly expected at this degree here. The big areas where they're still going to have to try and find some way to push forward is going to be on either this kitchen hatchwork or looking for an alternate path. Well, that's going to be pinching from Blue and Moto or something else. Looking likely to be that first option, though, as we're going to see the Rotero drones start to sneak in here, dealing with one of the cameras.
Oh, it didn't get it. It's a bulletproof. It's up on the top wall. You can hop on top of that jukebox right there.
So it's not going to be able to take that down. The info leak will still be happening here for the Soniqs as they try to push their way back in. More drones are going to move in and probably reconfirm that that didn't get taken out in a second. And if there is one remaining, trying to double check right now, and yes, there is still Rotero drones remaining. We are going to see more of those get thrown in here. Away from that too. Plenty of drones still for DarkZero to utilize. We come down to 30 seconds, but the time is what's really going to matter here. There is only that 30 seconds remaining here. They've made very little progress on this push. Patience will be a virtue here for Hyper, though, as he's able to down Rexon and now absolutely assault the inside of Church, but Yeti gets the clapback pretty much instantaneously. Still has the defense coming in here as the Nitros now begin to do their work, finding a second kill for the team. Kansan will get the third after Canadian gets only a single exchange here, and there you have it. Yeti with one final pickup. It's the Soniqs finding another round as they pick up their first defensive win here at the outset of the second half.
Two rounds separate Soniqs from closing this out inside of regulation, and not only that, they look cool as a cucumber, John. There is no faces, there's nothing. They're just having fun, man. I mean, this is the chillest I've ever seen Xander, and I've played rank with the guy. I mean, like, you know, it's very, very impressive stuff coming across the board from the Soniqs as they're just simply walking on through DarkZero. Really love the positioning of Yeti on that one, specifically on the midi bar there for Church. I mean, just looking over the top of the freezer, that's so unbelievably difficult for Hyper to try and fight. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with just angles and the way that your camera works in this game. When he's got that verticality, he's looking down through that hole, he gets to see the entire lower half of you, and you don't get to see any of him. All you get to see is those bullet tracers. That's what you saw Hyper try to fire back at, but Hyper doesn't know that there's a massive fridge there that is catching all of his bullets.
That great angle work being used by the Soniqs to once again shut down the play from DarkZero, which did have some spark of hope to it at the beginning there, specifically with the play towards Blue. That was the catalyst for the rest of the execute, but unfortunately it all led to nothing as Yeti and other members of the Soniqs were ready for the challenge and fended it off without too much of an issue. As Stoke said, 2 more rounds. One more run around of these sites is all that the Soniqs need here to close out the game, close out the series, and close out the year for the NAL.
Yeah, scary times right now for DZ. They've came so far from barely scraping by to get into the Sweden Major to now being here, the NAL Finals, trying to take a victory for the DarkZero house, make that trophy room look just a little bit better. But we'll have to see what they can get done at a 3-round deficit. Soniqs sitting at the door for victory here for the second season of the NAL. Going to hold things down now inside of Gym and Master Bedroom, a site that we saw them get quite a bit of success with yesterday up against Oxygen.
Keep in mind, folks, once again, this is not our only matchup for today. Following this one, we have the relegation match between Parabellum and XSET. That'll determine the 9th final team in the NAL for the 2022 season. Will XSET be able to maintain their position after getting last place this season, or will Parabellum, who's been excelling their way through CL, be able to steal that spot from them and enter the NAL as a new squad?
I don't know about you guys, but I am most definitely excited for that one. Anytime that I can get my eyes on some Parabellum gameplay, I am in. Ever since SI, I think everybody has been feeling that exact same vibe. So we'll have to see what they can possibly get done later. But as of right now, the Soniqs will start having to battle back. Steezy make their first move. They'll blow open the single panel. They also got some positioning over towards the Jacuzzi balcony, as to be expected. About halfway through this round now is DarkZero are just simply taking their time. They've got the Jacuzzi open already. They're going to start droning in and seeing where the positionings are of these Soniqs members, but they haven't done a single thing for this cash side, so there's still plenty of abusable things here for SQ as well, especially if DZ try to go for that weights plant and they want to lean out towards the subroof.
Over half the round going. It's a very slow build-up again here from DZ, but that's somewhat to be expected, as that has been the go-to playstyle for kind of both of our teams, trying to take this so carefully because there's so much kind of looming aggression building up, especially on the defensive side here. They want to make sure that they measure twice, cut once, but unfortunately the cut's going to miss this time. Yeti excelling once again with the initial kill, however, caught on the exchange by Panba. Frag grenade is going to be wasted though, as he's trying to chuck one into kitchen, and the ADSs eat that up.
That's all of the frag grenades gone for DarkZero. They can't get that wall open. This is going to be very, very difficult for them now. What's the next move? How do they try and fix this? That's the big question, and that's what's scratching Canadian's brain right now. Pambazoo's trying to step up inside of this space and get something done here. He'll try and bang out the mattress, but nobody on the other end as of right now. Kansan's playing safely inside of construction, but Canadian will make the move. Oh no, not like this, Soniqs. Just simply walking in. Apparently the adjustments from DZ earlier opening up so many different avenues of play. It's paid off, and it's actually going to get them the round. They didn't even need the bathroom. They just simply needed the Soniqs to get pulled apart.
Probably that, but the cutoff coming in from the windows there as well, enough to give them the angles they need to work their way in. Great stuff from DarkZero. A rough hand dealt to them there in the mid-round, as Stokes was mentioning. No capability to open up kitchen and get the true swing they wanted to pinch off against the bedroom hold and allow for them to go into gym more freely. Instead, they push it in through construction and brute force the gym play, and it works out as they frag their way to a victory, continuing to hold on here in the grand finals, even with the Soniqs holding a solid lead.
Perfectly timed from Canadian there as well. Pambazoo pressuring in from Jacuzzi, start getting your balcony players into the action as well, and he just simply drops on the single panel. And that's something that you see happen very, very often inside of Rainbow Six, and something that you guys can apply to your gameplay as well for your hard breachers, is getting some of those walls open just at the very beginning of the round and leaving them there. That's some of the best plays that you can possibly make in Siege, because what that does to the defense is it makes it to where they're used to that being there. And just think about it this way, if I haven't used it for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you're probably pretty used to that being there. And I can more than likely walk in, and you're probably going to be surprised at that. That's exactly what Canadian does in that situation. Very well done from DarkZero to open themselves up so many different avenues to try and attack gym and bedroom, and they're able to stave off Soniqs from getting up to match point.
The Soniqs, though, still in control of the matchup at 5-3 and a 1-0 lead overall on maps here. But DarkZero giving us a great showing just now there on their initial attack. Goes successfully for them. And the Soniqs, however, are now able to return up here into the towers, or rather the CCTV and cache hold for themselves to see if they can find better success here on their third attempt now to pick up a round on the defense. So far, 1-1, a dead heat between these teams in our second half, but that only favors the Soniqs if the teams continue to volley back and forth, as we saw between Soniqs and OXG for a bit during their matches yesterday. Either way, though, we've got Eclipse on the Maverick, going to quickly take care of all the reinforcements over here on the balcony, sitting outside of East Main. But it's still going to take a few seconds to do that. And Hyper, of course, will be on the rappel to pop open the soft breach once he finishes the job, opening up and checking off step 1 here for the DZ attack.
Okay, well, plenty of utility to play into a prevention here. Yet he won't have the Nitro Cell, he'll have the BP instead, so some extra information to be able to assist them. More than likely over towards this west-hand side of the map. Can obviously be really anywhere. Obviously down the stairs inside of Lounge is a very important space to try and occupy, or at least have some information game going on as well. But so far it's been easy breezy for both of these teams. Not too much action going on around the map, just a lot of posturing going on. The initial CCTV wall will be blown, as we would all expect. Canadian trying to get some Rotero drones in here and see exactly what pieces of utility he can get rid of. No one really seemingly aware of what's going on, and that's that bulletproof there that we were looking for. It's actually inside of CCTV watching the breach, so all of a sudden it'll be radio silence in that area. No one taking any damage or anything across this first minute and a half, but it does seem like DZ want to start working from this Jacuzzi side.
Meantime, the Soniqs very much ready to fend off things from the construction end.
Oh!
Kansan is going to be able to launch a Nitro Cell out and get the first kill of this round against Hyper, eliminating the Zofia from play, taking away what can oftentimes be that pretty pivotal entry operator to help things out here for DZ. Not going to be the case this time, obviously, as it's now been eliminated, and DZ need to look for other options here as they back away from the construction push.
This is very terrifying right now for DZ because Soniqs seemingly aware of all of this. We saw a lot of them playing over towards this construction space, so more than likely ready for DarkZero to begin trying to get inside of the actual cache space and get a plant down here. These Mute Jammers also working out extremely well. A Toxic Babe is going to force Yeti away from the wall here, but it will also assist in keeping DarkZero out for the time being. Grix are trying to worry about Plat, and he should be, as Canadian will take down one, but might not even be him outside. And actually it is. He's been playing Plat this whole time. We just weren't seemingly aware of it. The Soniqs, though, some solid positioning to play prevention, especially with Kansan. Doesn't have that Nitro Cell down low anymore, and as Bambazu's able to get two, Soniqs simply just not aware of where these entries could possibly come in from. Super, the only one on site now, might be able to get at least one, and he does, but we're going to need something like we saw yesterday in the moment right now. He can't get it done. DarkZero pinch it out, and they're going to make this scoreline one round closer.
DarkZero back into it now, as it's only going to be a one-round lead for the Soniqs as we get deeper into the second half here. Soniqs needing to find their footing and need to do so quickly, and in order to do so, is actually going to make this potential execute if they try to play it through hatches again very, very interesting, and maybe something similar to what we often see on the basement attacks of Oregon if it ends up going that way.
Man, I was just sitting here thinking, like, Canadians like the Peyton Manning of Siege. He just gets up to the line and he's just constantly calling audibles the whole time and just like, all right, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Like, don't even really need the head coach, just let him do his thing. He'll figure it out. They're doing fantastic as of right now, at least pulling this back once again. And that's something that we expect out of DarkZero, especially with Canadian at the helm. You want to see those adjustments. It means he's doing his job, and not only that, but he's doing it correctly. For the Soniqs, they're going to be headed back downstairs, and they found a decent amount of success inside of this space. See exactly what they can get done. They've done a very good job so far of preventing DarkZero from getting a plant down. We'll see if that continues.
I've seen over the past couple of rounds a bit of a fall off from Grixer, obviously not chasing down like 3 to 4 kills around anymore, only finding one, I think, since the end of the opening half or some of the opening rounds that we played out there, as he now sits at 11-4. Still a very impressive scoreline, don't get me wrong, but other players now need to step up to make up the difference as we're seeing Rexen, Kansan, and Yeti start to claim more of those kills. Panda, in the meanwhile, excelling just as much as Grixer has with a nearly identical scoreline there of 11-5 now as we get deeper and deeper into this match, and the true stars begin to show themselves as we get down to the wire.
These opening minutes are going to be quite grueling, folks. Apologies about that, but this is indeed Siege. We have a lot of different tasks in order to get done to try and apply some pressure to the Soniqs, most notably the hatches, as we've been talking about throughout most of this, and down to the torch work of Eclipse for the time being. Shouldn't be seeing too much action outside of that, as we have like a Hail Mary Nitro Cell or something go off, but past that, unless DarkZero just oversteps or Soniqs makes an aggressive play up a stairwell, shouldn't be seeing too much go on. They have some intel game working in here from SQ as well. You can see they brought the bulletproof on Yeti to partner with these Evil Eyes. They'll have plenty of coverage down low, even if smokes do end up going down. But luckily enough, I do not believe that we have any of those at DarkZero's disposal.
I'm just going to quickly pop open the hatch leading down into blue here while the other ones are being worked on. All options being presented to DarkZero. Those are the easy ones, though. It's usually the kitchen hatch where there's a bit more resistance played out, and you have to use the skeleton key, currently equipped by NJR, in order to finish things off and open up the path work that you need to get that open, as you're going to see the electric claw at the moment, and probably for the next few seconds while DarkZero potentially try to open that. If that is indeed going to be in the cards for them, we'll have to wait and see, of course, as DarkZero has been no stranger to changing things up quite suddenly here in the final 30 or 40 seconds of play, and we could be looking at that again. With the Ying in play, though, a good possibility we could start to see those Candelas get chucked through the Moto doorway in the church and allow that to be their execute route, as I believe I have seen that used previously.
And Canadian does indeed have smokes as well, so we could see that utilized in order to try and work their way in, at least cut off a couple of different angles. Yet he's going to get stunned out, but he'll be able to survive as of right now inside of church. Might be coming soon enough, though, at least the death knock as he is, well, actually Kansan standing deeper inside of this space. You ought to be playing the bomb chassis as of right now, trying to find some cheeky angles, but a cheeky angle is what Soniqs have on top of that minibar there. DarkZero starting to run out of time, but Yeti will finally get taken down by NJR. That skeleton key finding itself yet again. The smoke's down, the Candela's out. Plenty of flashbangs to try and keep Church in control of DarkZero, and they've done it finally. But now a 3 versus 3 as Kansan's deep inside of sight. Won't be able to stop this plant as Eclipse will more than likely confirm this. It's down to Grixer, but he's stopped the plant, and he's down the other teammate as well.
Oh, no.
The Soniqs get away with theft inside of blue. I don't even know how that's allowed to happen.
It was such a solid execute as well, specifically NJR, who has been brutal on the entry game these past couple of rounds, being assisted primarily by Canadian there. Every single kill, except for that final one, was made so cleanly, with obviously a few trades here and there coming in from the Soniqs roster, but they seemed like they had full control. It's that one area they didn't put any pressure on Grixer, just casually holding Big Blue the entire time there, and when the pressure comes onto him, it's such an open plant position, he just spins around, denies it, and there you go. There's no time left.
It's, you know, Pengu and I were talking about this in between maps, and it's just one of those things about Siege. There's so many things to be thinking about in the moment that sometimes the most fundamental thing is the thing that gets you in trouble. And that's that exact moment. They have so much control around that space. They have to force this plant down there on minimal time, and there's no room for error in the slightest. And, well, that's what happens. If somebody's able to tag you down at about 3 seconds remaining and possibly down your teammate that was overlooking you trying to plant the bomb, then you're more than likely going to lose that round. Very unfortunate for DarkZero in the way that that went, because that was quite the convincing entry there for Church, and you really never want to see something go down in such a way where that's technically speaking the clutch. So for the Soniqs, though, got to be happy with that one, as they'll steal the bag and also get up to match point. They're looking to close out DarkZero in 2-0 fashion, both being inside of regulation on Bank and Clubhouse. There's no excuses for this DZ roster.
Critical error in control ends up giving the Soniqs their penultimate round here, and now the ultimate not far away. One more is all the Soniqs need to be the 2021 NAL champions, and it's going to come at a gym defense as they try to lock this down once more. But as we already saw, DarkZero, this is one of the sites that, again, they were able to change things up as in the late round there, put that additional pressure onto the site and allow for their push to work out there, giving them this round ultimately. So once more, we need to see the Soniqs bring some more adjustments to the table as they try to pick this one up for themselves. And they already tried it back on the second, and it didn't work out too well.
What will be DarkZero's game plan for this, though? The previous round, we saw a very quick adjustment after DZ lost a handful of bodies over towards the construction side for Canadian while the pinch was coming through from Jacuzzi, and actually able to get that off without a hitch. So very well done from them, but now presented with this round, the Soniqs on the door of taking the NAL finals away from DZ, being crowned our champion for Season 2. Either way, the Soniqs still have to go down that road, down this path here. For DarkZero, they'll be starting things off by popping open Jacuzzi. Very similar opening to what we saw the last time. We'll see what they want to do with the rest of this, though, as we've also had a pretty cheeky adjustment from the Soniqs. This time around, for the very first time on this site here today, we will see Frost. So could see some very sad moments here in a couple of minutes.
For DarkZero, looking to once again put a lot of pressure here over on the balcony side, the Jacuzzi side specifically, as they try to brute force their way in, get that pressure going. They're going to have to try and work their way and see if they can get access to the breach on the inside of the bathroom once again, though, which was a critical issue last time that forced them to ultimately rotate over towards a different part of the map, where again, they still ultimately found success by pinching things out between a brute force of the gym, as well as swinging in from construction there. So very much might have to rely on the same thing if they run into those same issues in terms of trying to deal with access getting in from the kitchen there. Very few nades remaining. They do use one that I can see. Might have one or two more, but nope, not going to be one on Kane. I don't believe there'll be one on Pamba either, so that's going to be it as they run out now and try to get themselves access instead to a different part of the map. The Selma's going down, but they're going to go down on the reinforced wall inside of Gym, as they cannot be placed once more on that bathroom wall.
DarkZero has everything that they need right now in order for a gym plant here, but it seems like the Soniqs are very well aware, especially with these breaches starting to come through. DarkZero is more than likely going to want to pressure all at once from multiple different facets, and it starts right now. Grixer's going to hop outside as he dies to a Claymore. Drone's going to get a little bit of intel inside of the site, but DarkZero hasn't stepped up to the plate just yet. Super still with some very solid intel, especially from this Evil Eye inside of Master, but DarkZero starting to deal with a lot of these different positions from the Soniqs. They know that the Maestro's in here. Super will get one. Eclipse, though, fires back onto Rex, and Super with two as he'll finally get taken down, but Kansan, he's been no stranger to danger today as he's into the 1 versus 2 to clutch this up for his team and get the dub. Knows that one's playing inside of Waits, but where is NJR? He's right in front of him. The C8 works out, and DarkZero stave off elimination.
Just way more confidence in the swings coming in here over a few of these rounds for DarkZero, and I think that in a lot of these fights, it's making up the ultimate difference for them. They have the confidence. They know that someone's sitting on the other side of their angle, so they have absolutely no problem swinging out and just pre-firing it, whereas members of the Soniqs don't seem to have that guarantee at all times there. They're losing these players on very rare occasions, and those rare occasions, like I said, while rare, are ultimately leading to quite a few deaths for the Soniqs here and costing them quite a few rounds, bringing us once again to our final round of regulation to decide this map.
CCTV cache in which we saw DarkZero can open the CCTV wall initially, but then throw it right over to a construction side take instead, with 3 members trying to prioritize that space, working in through Jacuzzi, and eventually catching the W there as well. But you know, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong in this area. We saw that happening yesterday against OXG for the Soniqs, where Super gets a huge triple kill that honestly should have never have happened, but still a huge win for them inside of that moment, and we could see some very similar things coming here. A big adjustment, though, is Yeto be bringing in Castle for the moment. We'll see what they want to try and get done with this. The very interesting thing about this is that everyone's going to have to use true hard-earned utility in order to get rid of these Castle barricades. There's no Sledge in play. Sledge is the direct counter to Castle barricades. You can hit 25 things with that hammer, whereas all of the utility on DarkZero's side right now is worth its weight in gold.
It's a good catch considering, again, like you said, the lack of any sort of Sledge is being brought to the table here. And with that being considered, it is going to cost either one of the Zofia Lifeline charges, possibly one of the Rotero drones. The actually fact that we have seen him being brought to the table here by Canadian is probably going to make it fairly palatable, but like you said, there will be things in the site, such as Electroclaws maybe, or possibly a deployable shield they will now not be able to take out because they have to make the choice between that or one of the Castle barricades. Already about 30 seconds being deployed, but once again, folks, you know the drill by this point here. It's been quite a few rounds played out already, so you should expect it. Slow rolling here for the first minute or two of play, as we're going to see Eclipse on the Maverick there try to work out the opening of the main balcony, and as well Panda will pop open a hole in the garage.
Yeah, you know, Spotify has playlists for cooking pasta at the proper time. Maybe we should just get a playlist for, you know, Rainbow Six just for the opening minute and a half, and then every time it ends...
Faceit's got that one song. It's like, da-da-da-da. Like that's really, I feel like that's really relevant for this first, like, 30 seconds of these cash attacks.
Ubisoft, you know, you have our people talk to your people. We can get it figured out, I'm sure. But either way, we're about a minute and a half in now, folks, as DarkZero is still trying to get things set up on the outside of the building. A lot of these Rotero drones hitting their mark for Canadian as well, and Super taking quite a bit of heat here, already down to half HP, and he's really going to want to hold on to life as much as possible because those toxic babes are going to be worth so much inside of this round. If they find some sheer value, then this is more than likely the round here for SQ, as DZ have been very hard trying to entry in through this utility. Usually ends up in right into the face of the Soniqs, but we'll have to see what happens this time around.
It's not just Rexon holding the catwalks here, Kansan assisting with it as well. There's actually another drone that's going to roll up past him here in a second, and he needs to try and catch it because Kansan might be being held here in secret. And now here we go, the pre-fire going to come out against Rexon. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's still a drone somewhere near the staircase giving info onto him, so we'll need to be careful of that, but Kansan makes it happen instead now as he adds the Nitro Cell into the play. He is going to lose himself, though, a second later as NJR is able to trade him out, but in addition to that, Rexon's still here, still continuing to hold things off. And now, cognizant of the drone, he takes that one down, Pan, but with the lurk, though, catches Yeti by Oil Pit and knocks him out, and that evens us back down to a 3v3.
Such low HP in between NJR and Pambazoo. Hyper is going to have to do something dastardly here to get away with this, but NJR and low HP doesn't seemingly matter. He's still as aggressive as ever. Takes out the Rafters player in perfect time. 35 seconds for DarkZero to get this plant down and force us into overtime here. Pambazoo, he's going to bank a flash off the wall, but the second one's going to hit its mark. Sadly, won't blind out Super. Grixer with a big kill. It's down to the 2 versus 2. M590 out, but Super's asleep at the wheel. It's all left up to Grixer, but Hyper kills him too, and DarkZero make it to overtime.
We are going the distance here on map number 2 of the grand final. The Sonics cannot contain themselves despite the unique setup and the possible benefits it gave them there in the opening gunfights. It gets traded out by DarkZero, and as such, they push it to overtime, and even better for them, they get the defensive start on overtime, a massive advantage on Clubhouse to build off of, just needing 2 out of 3 of those rounds to win it.
Fantastic news. Now, do you want the bad news?
Yeah.
Sonics have 2 rounds on offense. That's the bad news. Sonics have looked so stellar when it comes to this side of play here for Clubhouse, not only today, but I will remind you once again, yesterday up against Oxygen, they have looked fantastic. This is the moment for DarkZero right here. If they're able to do this, this third map is going to be electric, and I really, really do hope that we get it. But for me, as of right now, I do feel as though this is a Sonics overtime. Now, this might be me trying to apply a little bit of a caster's curse for that third map, but I'm just saying, I think both of these teams have been pretty solid. DarkZero at digging themselves out of a hole, and Sonics just with the routine play that we've seen on a round-by-round basis.
For the Sonics here, an opportunity to close this out, and regulation on both maps denied, but still an opportunity to shut this one down in overtime, and indeed still take the crown and the trophy here for the 2021 NAL champions. At the same time, DarkZero doesn't seem to want to take this loss, trying to fight it out to the most extent that they can, so they will also continue to excel here. Obviously going to be skipping the basement hold. That's where we saw quite a bit of success for the Sonics outright, as they went 2 for 2 on those attacks back in regulation. They were at 50% win rate for the other 2 sites, however, so it's really a toss up in the air right now to see how these rounds are going to go for DarkZero. As Stokes was mentioning earlier here, the Sonics seem to be very much in the know of how to handle these types of setups from DZ, so that means that they have to adapt now, moving into OT, where they're going to replay them again.
And that's where I get scared, John, honestly, because, I mean, look at the setup from DarkZero. This is the exact same thing we've been seeing time and time again throughout the entirety of Clubhouse.
I mean, to be fair, like I said, once again, we've got teams potentially saving stuff for SI, so there is a possibility they might have something in their pocket. But ultimately, Clubhouse is a fairly played-out map. It's pretty hard to make variations to your strategy because, for the most part, a lot of things, if not everything, has kind of already been tried. So it's very, very tough indeed to try and innovate your play style, and this map somewhat restricts it at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those maps where you have your default, and it's the minor adjustments inside of that really, you know, bear fruit. So we'll see if that does anything for DarkZero's camp. But as we've been talking about for most of this thus far, Sonics in such a solid position to take this still, even at the 6-6 scoreline, given that they will be on offense for 2 of the 3 rounds. So drones in now for Sonics as they're getting a better read as to what's going on inside of CCTV and just the site in general. Some solid play down low from DZ, as well as Pambazoo will be in the area for lounge, just in case anybody does want to get risky with that space. Down a hologram in, but it's going to get immediately dusted, so not too much done with that as we reach the halfway mark here.
Wait for DarkZero. Still some plans being built up for them, specifically for Canadian. A long lurk through the basement right now, trying to maybe catch someone who would go in and try to take blue control early. Not going to see that come to much fruition as of yet here. Panda has his openings in garage, though, and that could actually lead to something if he gets a time swing out appropriately here, but he as well needs to be cautious about when he tries to do that, as the Sonics have been very much on top of their intel game for a large majority of these rounds so far in this series here. This one being really no different. A huge emphasis on that as they do try to work their way forward. But Eclipse, once again, going to end up being challenged here as well in the catwalks. You have 2 members of the Sonics standing at the threshold of the doorway right now, getting ready to challenge it. But it's Panda that comes out on top for DZ, taking down Grixer first. Arguably the most powerful player here for the Sonics between yesterday and today. And now eliminating that for the attacking lineup as they try to work their way in. Eclipse going to try to fend this off. He's got the Nitro to keep pressure off the stairs. It's going to get shot out, though, in Eclipse being bled away. Has a winning angle to win a fight, but it's not going to happen. Rexon takes it instead, and we're even again at a 4v4 with a little over 30 seconds remaining.
Sonics looking for this plant here inside of CCTV. Only 30 seconds remaining. This needs to be the move. To see what they can get done here as Canadian will clamber back up the main stairs. Needs to come back through and assist his team, although Pambazoo's still alive, and what an insane performance he's put on display here for Clubhouse. Currently 15-7 as Sonic set up to enter the building with 12 seconds remaining. Super pushes deep, but is Hyper know where he's planning from. He's planning right in front of the soft wall, and Super gets taken down. That's the case. Kansan and JR pass each other. Rex is inside of sight. He gets cut down too, and the defenders win the round. Canadian gets it done with DZ.
A bold choice from the Sonics to try to plant directly next to the soft wall, one that's read very easily by DarkZero. Once that case is down on the ground, there is no time left to correct it at that point. That's a big win for DZ. They're going to take the lead here now. It's 7-6 as they try to take control of this map.
So what is the site choice here for the Sonics? That's the
I would
real
assume
question.
basement.
And it is looking like it is going to be the basement, John, so good on you, my friend. But either way, I would agree with you. I think that this is the best
Yeah.
site that we've seen from them thus far, and the one that's been so very difficult for DZ to get right. I mean, even that last round, it looked like it was going to be solid, but the big thing is time. They continue to run into the same exact problem, whereas they get down so low on the timer that they don't have room for mistakes, and that's the biggest thing right there. You know, what we saw with that round from Grixer especially being the best highlighter of what has been happening with this clock management on DZ. So we'll see if they can get around that issue this time around, but could definitely still be something that we're going to need to look into. Canadian, though, will be six-picking once again off of the Ying onto the Rotero drones of Flores for this round, but more than likely going to be suspected from the Sonics as we saw it on this one the last time.
Well, as we get into possibly our final round of the map yet again, but staying up for a bit here now as we've entered overtime. DarkZero are the one that stands at the threshold. For the first time in this series, they get themselves to a map point. Don't want to waste this opportunity, as they're only going to get 2 of them here between this round and the next. Sonics looking to try and reset things and even us back out at 7-7, so they too can try and claim that pivotal point that will not only end the map for them, but the series as well, claiming them as the NAL champions. Away from that, though, we've got the Sonics set up once again in a bunker-focused setup. All 5 players going to be positioned downstairs. No one roaming out and about. Just going to allow DarkZero to get the free clear on the second and first floor, and obviously take the time that they need to open up angles. Whether it's top-down or just entry routes they need to transition from the first floor to the basement, that is going to be the pivotal thing they need to look for themselves here. Already finding success like we saw with a Ying play the last time we saw DarkZero go for the site, but ultimately not accounting for Grixer sitting in blue. The one area that DarkZero wasn't able to put pressure on, he clutches it out on the timer there. So DarkZero bringing a different flair to the table this time, though, going back to, I think, to the more standard layout we had been seeing for them for these attacks previously.
I will say this. Early on, we saw Grixer just getting away with murder practically for the Sonics, but Pambazoo has came to light for DZ and really challenged back. And not only that, but he's been doing it with harder hardware to use, arguably. Hyper going to get a big kill onto Rex, and as he's simply just found walking around Garage, it's going to be an easy claymore for Hyper to set up, and also a kill that he'll definitely be happy that he received. Minute and 45 seconds now for DZ, as they've already got the pick that they were more than likely searching for, and they'll begin their work on the basement. The first Rotero drone in, but is Kansan aware, be able to get rid of at least a piece of utility here. Don't exactly know what he's going for, but he'll at least get rid of a couple of chairs. I'm sure somebody cared about those.
I think he just activated it to annoy him more. I don't think there was anything.
Yeah,
on
the
that
drone
table that I
blows
could
up,
see.
Kansan, haha.
Yeah, it's more like how you didn't get to shoot it, and now you have to like move for 3 seconds. But yeah, nothing really consequential coming out of that one as far as I can see from the top-down view, as DarkZero continue to look. And now will really take their time mounting up positions here to get themselves into the basement. They have 0 pressure on them now that they've already built up towards a 5v4. Keep in mind, of course, if they take this too low, the Sonics will still ultimately take back that advantage here. But once again, DarkZero using this time very nicely right now, mainly to deal with the extra utilities. You're constantly seeing those Rotero drones being strung in here. One's going to chase down Yeti. He's going to move a little more quickly than that Yeti, but he gets himself out of there. That costs him the ADS on his position too, so he's more than likely going to have to leave this spot relatively soon if DarkZero try to focus it.
He's got one of my discs in the ceiling, though.
Oh, that's true.
And that's a big thing here. He's also still processing those as well, because we're at 40 seconds, so he's about to get his last disc here momentarily. But the execute actually might come in from DarkZero here at a moment's notice. They still need some positions to be exposed to the offense, but past that, Sonics are already at a deficit, and this is something that DZ have came by rarely inside of this game. Super's going to get downed. Hyper inside of blue. He hits the prone, but not able to land his shots just yet.
Yeti?
But Yeti's going to pop off. 2 big frags, and they don't really know his positioning basis as of right now. The stuns pour in, but Sonics are fighting back. It's 10 seconds for NJR and Canadian. Canadian's got the case, but they've got no home to go to. There's one deep inside of Armory, but Grixer's going to gun him down. Kansan gets the second one. And
seeing NJR play over the last like 5 or 6 rounds here, he's really come alive in addition to Panba, and I think he's more than deserved the pickup there of the alibi to have himself a little bit of extra fragging capability should he need it to try and shut down the plays for the Sonics.
This right here is going to be decided in 2 different ways.
Okay. So give us a second, guys.
Okay, so can't move the drone, but either way, it still stands. This is going to be decided in one of two ways. Either we're going to see a huge pop-off from Grixer, or DZ is going to be able to deal with him in some fashion, because Grixer has been the catalyst for the Sonics on these rounds time and time again. So exciting stuff.
Okay, let's hey guys, let's head back in game because this round's being continued. This round.
Oh, we got it. They got the drone out. They got the drone out. Yeah, we're good to go. And we're back into the action phase. So yes, so be looking and paying attention to Grixer. If he goes down early, I don't think the Sonics get this round.
All right, guys. So getting into it here now, we are going to see how the Sonics will try to deploy themselves into it. The reason why we didn't.
So
okay, well now you're just confusing the admin super. Okay, so
very last round, and then you have to sit for an extra 10 minutes to get everything figured out. I mean, I can't even imagine what the feeling is amongst everyone right now, but even though the score lines are 0-0, folks, we will talk about what basically is a head-to-head bout in between two heavyweights of the game in North America. It's Pambazoo as well as Grixer.
Appreciate our admin there in the middle. I don't know if you guys at home caught our admin doing like the cowboy stance, checking both teams, like making sure there's nothing else going wrong.
Ready? Are you ready? Fight.
And they were. So it looks like we're going live with this one, folks. Assuming nothing props up here when the Sonics spawn, I think we are good to play this round out finally. So let's get into it and see if the attackers will be able to excel and claim the tournament, or if DarkZero will send us to that third map over on Coastline here. Both teams have had quite a few minutes now because of two resets in a row to be able to kind of reset themselves mentally, so they should be quite fresh getting back into this. Oh, and a nice Nitro cell, nearly gets two, but one's enough in this situation. Kansan gets knocked out by Canadian on a Hail Mary Nitro.
Expecting that, even though we saw Canadian dish one of those out earlier on, that one just not landing on its mark. But this one, most definitely, DarkZero starting off so very strong here. Fortunately enough for the Sonics, Kansan, not the biggest piece to the puzzle, at least utility-wise, inside of this scenario, but still, a gun down is a gun down. Sonics will have to be operating in a, well, a positive manner. If they neutrally trade or anything else, this round's more than likely going to the wayside. For DarkZero, it's a huge defensive standpoint here inside of Cash, Pambazoo, Hyper, Eclipse, all within the same square meters of each other, as they'll be trying to hold on to this space. The wall's been electroclawed closed as well, so gonna be a little difficult for the Sonics to get some pressure inside of this area. And speaking of pressure, it looks like Yeti is gonna be working in down low momentarily. Grixer with a heck of a play initially with that drone, but just not able to get the Rotero in the proper spot.
Trying to once again open up an angle here against Eclipse, as you're going to see Yeti also try to put some pressure up the red stairs here. Currently down below it, though, in blue, so not anywhere near the position from Hyper. It's going to take him a moment to get a bit closer towards that. As Rexon actually, oh, he could catch two right here. One's on the cross. They thought he would have moved away, but no, they're now locked in. He's driven a wedge in this defense here, and he's also done some great damage to Eclipse in the process. He was smart enough to back away and save his own life, where Panda was not.
Oh, man, well, I don't think any of us expected this round to go like this. DarkZero call for
Rexon,
rotation
no!
back, and oh no, not like this. Rexon dealing so much damage. If there was a moment in time for him to start popping off, it had to be here. Grixer hasn't even had to do a damn thing just yet. And in fact, it was actually Grixer's drone earlier working its way in. But the good news for DarkZero, look at the time. 40 seconds remain as they continue to try and stave off the Sonics, but they are on top of it right now. Canadians still working inside of logistics, but everyone is spread so thin across the map. The Sonics just need to pressure a space and take control.
If they can kill Hyper here without losing anyone else, so that's going to allow them to just swing into the site and try to trade their way towards a victory and towards a title for the 2021 champions as well. Hyper continuing to hold the line, though, continuing to fend this off, but no, the site players begin to fall. Grixer and Rexon both find kills, and it's all on NJR. He's been hot these last few rounds, but now he needs to be heroic to shut this one down. It's a 1v4. He only needs to last out 8 seconds. And but Grixer instantly headshots him out, and the Sonics will be the 2021 NAL champions!
Congratulations to the Sonics, the team that blew apart their entire squad at the beginning of the 2021 season and came back to win it all here in the NAL.